August 17th. It's 10:04 a.m. coming at you from Maui, Hawaii. And we are in a new transit, y'all. We're in gate 29 in the sun and 30 in the earth. And so just so we're aware, 29 is going to be in the sacral center and 30 is going to be also in the solar plexus. So it's, still carrying over some of that awareness from the solar plexus. And Prana actually sent me a video yesterday around people with undefined solar plexus. Like the defined solar plexus job is to kind of like charge into confrontation. It's to provide us energy and awareness to confront emotions, not necessarily act out of emotions, but to actually confront the emotions. And so one of the things that may happen with an open solar plexus is what we were discussing, he and I, is there might be this tendency, because typically the open solar plexus will tend to avoid emotional confrontation. And that is one that, so when the transit's defined, so if your solar plexus is undefined, your tendency is to avoid confrontation. When it is defined, that is the time to challenge your emotions. That is the time to, when something comes up, instead of avoiding that confrontation within yourself, is to actually go get it, go attack it. And he used the example of the spleen, Ra did in this video. And the open spleen tends to hold on to things that are not necessarily good for it. Whereas the defined spleen is constantly looking to eliminate things that are not good for it. So one thing that may happen with the open spleen when it's defined by the transits is this wanting to let go of things that maybe are good for you, right? So if you have an open spleen and the transit defines that open spleen, and now it's a defined spleen because the transit hooked it up or somebody else hooked it up, you got to be aware of letting go of things that are actually good for you. And similar to the solar plexus, again, you got to be mindful of confronting things that are good for you. So with that being said, let's go ahead and dive into this this transit. And if that was like a little like bobbly headed for you, that's okay. That's kind of how it is with me. There's so much to learn in human design, and ultimately, it always comes back to a strategy and authority. These transit layers are a little bit more of an advanced tail to it. So for those of you on TikTok that are watching, I'm also here on Discord. Please jump into Discord if you want to have a better understanding of human design, if you want support and a community that loves human design. I mean, we're like giving away readings over here in Discord. So come for the community, don't come for the freebies, because we'll know who you are. But yeah, Discord is the place to be. So hop over there. The Discord link is in my bio. And let's get into the transits. So we have gate 29, the abysmals, perseverance, the deep within the deep. Persistence, despite difficulties, has its inevitable rewards. Line 1 is the draftee, which is the ability to adapt to struggle when necessary, but not as a permanent state. So in the exaltation, this one's in Mars, we have the innate nature to apply energy in times of war and peace, the power to preserve when necessary, but not generally. The detriment is a deep impressionability whose mark from times of struggle may make a return to normal conditions extremely difficult. Hesitation in making commitments based on past experience. So this is about the ability to commit to something, knowing that it's not going to be forever, knowing that whatever it is that you commit to, at some point there might be a pivot away, or there might be a no longer able to commit energy, but still being able to commit. This is beautiful in the sense that one of my buddies, one of very good friends, he just had a child. And one of the things that he was speaking about was like this kind of like lack of commitment. And it mirrored a lot of the lack of commitment that I was kind of having before my child was born. And I think it's normal for a lot of men to come up against this in the sense that, they're not carrying the baby in the body. The men's desire is to kind of like go out there and make it happen, provide. Am I making enough money? Am I worthy? All this stuff that comes up. But this commitment, thinking like, oh, I don't know what's going to happen in the future. And in the past, something bad happened when I did fully commit. So I'm just going to keep myself safe. I'm not going to fully commit. However, 29 is often expressed as this like full body yes. And there's the detriment later on, which we'll see is this kind of like overcommitment. But realizing that like, when you're drafted into a war, right? Like you have to be fully present in the experience. Otherwise, you might not come back from it. So when that commitment is online, and again, this is a sacred activity, when that commitment is there, it's going to come from a full body, right? But that doesn't necessarily mean that you actually make the commitment. That just means that there's the that's there. It doesn't necessarily you mean you step in fully, even if you get the full body from your gut. And so it's important to note that when you get the full body right, provided that you're not in an emotional wave, go do it. Don't give yourself time to rationalize all these different lies and reasonalities into your head, because that's not necessarily going to help you follow your gut, right? So this is about the time that I would tell Luke to read the I Ching. He put something in here. He says, if you guys haven't checked out the Sage for the recordings I made for this transit to capture the I Ching version, yes, Luke, you are the baddest mother. I love it. I'm gonna like that real quick. So it sounds like Luke made the I Ching versions of this over there in Sage, which if you guys don't know, all you have to do to get that roll is to scroll up to the top, select channels and roles, and then select the Sage. Sage has been around for a minute. There's also the Keynote, the Rogue class that Prana is leading and teaching us how to keynotes, which is like taking the keynotes from each of the channels and each of the gates and dropping them into like putting a puzzle piece together. So that's super fun. Okay, so let's move on to gate 30, which is in the solar plexus. Gate 30, clinging fire, feelings. Freedom recognized as an illusion and limitation accepted as fate. So line 1, we have composure, balance in the fate of disorder, the maximization of limitation in all cases, stability through feeling, no matter the situation. That's the exaltation. Detriment is the ability to maintain composure, but at the expense of progress. Balance through feelings, but unable to let go of them. So gate 30 makes up this part of the collective channel. So it's on the outside. I wish I had my shirt on. I wore the same shirt for like 3 or 4 days because I was able to point to to stuff on the body graph, which was awesome. Which if anyone wants a shirt, we got shirts available. Right now it's only for reflectors and splenic authority, although we have the G authority, mental authority, sacral authority, basically the other like 98% of the population. But they're coming soon. But anyway, composure. So composure is the ability to like let go ultimately of feelings, right? And ultimately what this is saying is that there's a balance here regardless of what's going on, but in the detriment, the balance is maintained only by your inability to let go of something, which is ultimately your ability to stabilize. Like if you're holding on to 2 heavy weights and I let go of this one over here, then suddenly now that since there's less weight over here on my right hand, this side is going to drop down, right? And if I remain balanced because I'm holding on to this weight, but it's time to let go, that was a weird little cool glitch. I can't rebalance myself, then that would be the detriment of this feeling, because so much of it in a way is being able to experience balance in the face of disorder. Meaning, you know, for instance, one of the examples I used in one of my sessions yesterday was like, we can't control the winds, but we can control how we set our sails. And it's this winds are sometimes blowing in a very unfavorable way, to the point where it doesn't matter how you in the direction that you want to go. So the key here is to be able to know when that is happening, pull your sails down. This is like emotional authority. Pull the sails down, ride out the storm, know where you're at, reorient yourself when the sky is clear or the sun is out, or when you look at your compass, then put your sails back up when winds are more favorable. And so again, I'll read it one more time. Exaltation is stability through feelings, no matter the situation. Detriment is balance through feelings, but unable to let go of them. So as these are transits, this is something that, you may be experiencing an excess of, especially if you don't have this gate active. If you have the 41 that connects to this 30, you might suddenly feel like, your fantasies are coming true, because 41 is kind of this like pressure to realize fantasies. and then you'll actually feel them kind of like coming through. Another version I've heard of the Gene Keys is you can change the plot line, but you can't change the script. Or you can't change the plot line, but you can change the script. Exactly. So, you can't control what happens to you, but you can control what you do or how you respond to what happens to you. So, regarding the transits, again, these are transitory energies, the drafty and composure. This is something that children born during this time, they're going to come in with this as their sun and their earth. They're going to come in with 70% of the influence of their life, or I guess, 70% of the influence of their life is going to be based off of these gates. And so this is a crucial part of the human experience that that a certain beings that are born at this time, they're holding it, they're carrying it. The rest of us are experiencing those programming neutrinos, that quality of light coming at us, but it doesn't necessarily change who we are. Okay, it can either give us awareness or drive us further into the deconditioning. One of the examples that I've been kind of like toying around with in my mind is this: like, the enemy is homogenization. The enemy is two parts. The passive one, which is homogenization, which is Mr. Smith going around and sticking his hand into you and turning you into one of his clones. And then there's your doppelganger, right? So in terms of antagonists, you have Mr. Smith, who's going around cloning people, and that's kind of what the transits are doing. However, Mr. Smith is also vital for programming new little baby. Like, the son would be Mr. Smith. Like, this is what you're going to be. Boom, here it is, defined, set, born, live your life. But the other antagonist in this whole dance is your not self. And if you go in the Neutrino app, there's actually a way to view your not self, which is just the version of you that has all of the opposite qualities of you. So where you have defined centers, they have undefined centers. Where you have undefined centers, they have defined centers. Where you have defined gates, they have undefined gates. Where you have defined channels, they have undefined channels. And this is an antagonist in a different kind of way, in a similar way that Neo battles with himself in this capacity of like, oh, this is what I'm supposed to do, but this is what I'm gonna do. Right? Is because as much as we want to use human design to figure out our destiny and figure out our lives, we are still having of free will. We are still in charge of making these decisions for ourselves. Like Chris put here is, you can't change the plot, but you can change the script. And so we have a certain circuitry that if we harmonize with it, it makes those decisions easier. And effectively we can find people who appreciate us for who we actually are, as opposed to who we think we need to be. So at some point, there's two really important dates. There's the day you were born, and then there's the day that you find out why. And then there's I add this third one. There's the day you let go of why you think what you think you were born for. I messed that up so bad. But there's also the day that you let go of what everybody else thinks you should be doing, and you actually step into why you were actually born. Because just knowing why you were born doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to step into that, right? Sometimes there's a time gap in between. I know what I'm here to do, and now I'm actually doing it, right? And this is just a mature way of looking at it, because so many people are like looking for, why am I here? What am I supposed to do? Like, what is my purpose? And they already know what their purpose is. And they're spending time looking for their purpose rather than stepping into it. And so that's the third piece of the puzzle. That's, not that any part is more important, but ultimately that's the defining part where you decide, you know what, I'm just going to burn the rest, like the bridges behind me, so that my only choice is to move forward. And the reality is, if you don't continue moving forward, eventually the bridges behind you will be set on fire, because spirit and life is constantly pushing us forward. That's why predator and prey exist. There's a relationship where the predator gets stronger. It hunts the prey nearly to extinction. The prey has to figure out and be creative and jump onto land, or start taking care of their babies, or they have a mutation that then eventually allows them to repopulate. But then the prey gets so big that they start to eat up all their food supply. And so what happens? The predator gets stronger. And there's these balancing forces that are going to keep us in check. That's going to continue to left foot, right foot, left foot, right foot. So this message for anyone out there who's having a hard time, because I'm about to drop into a session with someone who reached out and was mentioning like, yo, I need it right now. And I'm not necessarily going to do anything special regarding human design. I'm just going to remind them like, look, wherever you're at right now is where you're at. And if you don't know the next step, that's okay. You're probably hung up on some of the steps that you made a long time ago. But that's not now. We don't need to do. We got to figure out what that next step is. Right? What is that next step? Whether it's feeling or taking a break or a vacation or dropping this relationship or writing a letter or whatever it is. It's just about the next step. Again, so many people want to go so far into the future and they want to like know it all. But I say this a lot is like, it doesn't matter if you know where you're going. If you don't know where you're at, how are you going to tell what the right direction is? Because if I want to go this way, but I don't know where I'm at, I might end up walking that direction, thinking that I'm walking that direction. But the refusal of accepting where I'm at is going to completely disorient me. So with that being said, guys, that's it for me. For those of you guys here on TikTok, please hop over into the Discord if you want to just continue your education with human design. There's a lot of support there, a lot of really fun people, very fun, educated people. And we're all out here doing the same thing. We want to connect with people that are living in alignment with nature, because at the end of the day, human design is stars and turtle shells. You know what I mean? Stars and flowers. That's what human design is. And so, invitation to join. From the TikTok community, TikTok or Discord community, Evolve community. Please welcome them in as you continue to do. And thank you guys for joining me for the tea and transits. I will be putting the recording up for today shortly, and I will see you next time. Aloha.